Ladies and gentlemen, the second half of the 2022 Jungle Line annual presentation will now begin. Let's welcome back our hosts of today, Pony, Jerry, Pig, and Catherine.
Hey Catherine, did you take the human body class yet?
No, but my sister took it.
What did she...
Ah! Jerry! Are you okay? Is there a doctor here?
Nice acting, Jerry. Actually, it's very important to watch a human body presentation.
Yeah, the next presenters knows best. Let us welcome Kenny, Winnie, Leo, Tamita, and Leo.
Because none of them I've before. I have class every day. Of course, I don't have time to watch Korean drama.
Which Korean drama? Let's go, Master G.
Ta-da!
Master G, I know. He's a very talented doctor. And someone who calls him the doctor that has a hand of gold.
Ha! Dule has an intended doctor. Then you guys don't need to watch him. You can look at me. I'm messaging from Taiwan. What? I want to join the annual presentation this year. Someone says that today's audience will not be over 10 people. Then it will be good. What? Is today the main day's concert? Or the amount to the one place is concert, right? No, it's right. It's Jungle Lion's annual presentation. So many people. What? I'm so nervous. My breathing. My heartbeat. Hands and feet are a bit numb. What happened to me?
It's alright. You don't need to worry about this situation.
Does anyone have a plastic bag?
I have one over
Useful plastic bag. Can you read in this bag and repeat this action for 10 minutes? Then I'll tell you why.
You like this, so only have one cup.
Now I'm going to talk about the lungs. What happens to congestion is called hyperventilation. When you're nervous and anxious, you will have hyperventilation. And if you have it, you'll be short of breath and cannot breathe smoothly. And lastly, you'll have headaches and sweat. So what can we do if we have hyperventilation? First, we can take a deep breath 10 times a minute, then 10 minutes. Second, we use a paper or plastic bag to cover our nose and mouth while we breathe. But make sure it doesn't have holes in it.
our lungs to move. The first picture is when we inhale air and the lungs will expand, making the diaphragm go down. The second picture is when we exhale air and the diaphragm will go back into a dome shape, squeezing the lungs. As I was saying, the upper respiratory system includes the nose and the mouth. The nose helps us with three main things. First, it helps provide air. The nose has nose hairs is not, so when the air gets in, the dust particles get caught by them. Second, it helps warming up. When the body is warm, the nose is also warm. So when the air gets in, the nose will heat it up immediately. So it will not affect the lungs badly. Lastly, it will humidify it. The moist nose will make the air wet, so that the wet air can go into our lungs. Now let's welcome Leon to talk about the lower respiratory system. Let's welcome Leon. Thanks, Samia, for telling us about the upper respiratory system. Now I'm going to talk about the lower respiratory system. The lower respiratory system's main function is gas exchange. As you can see in the picture, the lower respiratory system is mainly composed of the trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and the alveoli, which make up the lungs. These structures pull in air from the upper respiratory system, which is what Amina likes to talk about. When air gets to the alveoli, gas exchange occurs, and this is just one stage of respiration. But you may ask me, what is respiration? There are three types of respiration. There are two meanings for respiration. If you're talking about the biochemical or the gas exchange, it is the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the bloodstream and the alveoli, or the bloodstream and the tissue cells. Or it is the biochemical process in which oxygen is added to glucose to form carbon dioxide, water, and ATP energy. Carbon dioxide and water are exhaled. But you may be confused about the difference between respiration and breathing. Many of you might think that respiration and breathing are the same thing, but that's not exactly correct. So I made a chart to show you. The difference between respiration and breathing. Breathing is biophysical and respiration is biochemical. Breathing is outside cells and respiration is inside cells. Breathing is extracellular and respiration is intracellular. Breathing uses energy and respiration releases it. Breathing happens in respiratory organs and respiration happens in cell organelles. Now let's talk more about respiration. There are two types of respiration: external respiration, internal respiration, and cellular respiration. Now I'm going to talk about the first type of respiration, external respiration. External respiration's function is the exchange of gases with the external environment. It also means inhalation and exhalation. Internal respiration is when gas exchange takes place in the alveoli or when it occurs between blood and tissues. Cellular respiration's function is to convert chemical energy, which is glucose, into ATP and release carbon dioxide and water. After some serious talking, let me tell you 5 interesting facts about the human lungs. Number 1, the lungs can float on water. They are the only organs that have this property. Number 2, Lungs and tennis courts can be the same size. Number 3. When one lung is punctured, the other one can go and work it. The air we breathe contains 21% oxygen, but our bodies only use 5%. The rest is exhaled. To accommodate the heart, right lung is larger than the left lung. Our conclusion. The lungs are the fundamental organs of the respiratory system. Why are the lungs important? Because they balance pH by decreasing the amount of carbon dioxide in the body and they send airflow into the larynx so we can speak. Important roles of the respiratory system are: number 1, warming up air and humidifying it. Number 2, protecting your body from harmful substances. This is done by coughing, sneezing, filtering, or swallowing them. Number 3, supporting our sense of smell. Our report is over. Kenny, do you understand?
Oh, I get it. Then I can win a show. It's just my breathing is returned to normal now. But why is my heartbeat is still so fast?
Let us answer your question about your heart. I'm Dr. Leo. As you guys know, I'm researching from Taiwan. So today, me and Dr. Muni is going to tell you the secret you never knew about the human heart. Did you know that in one day, our heart pumps 2,000 gallons of blood? That equals 39 bathtub. That's a lot of work. Our heart is an involuntary muscle. An involuntary muscle is a muscle that you can't control. Many people think the heart is located in the middle of your chest, but actually not. It is located slightly next to your left. Many people think the heart will be big or will be small, or the shape of a valentine, but they are all wrong. It's about the size of your own fist. Because Kenny is too nervous and has anxiety, so it's cousin tachycardia. Tachycardia is when your heartbeat is over 100 per minute. The heart has 4 rooms: right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and the left ventricle. There is also 4 valves: bicuspid, tricuspid, pulmonary, and the aortic. The deoxygenated blood. As you can see in the word deoxygenated, there's the word D. D stands for opposite or lower. So deoxygenated blood means blood that contains lower oxygen. The deoxygenated blood has lower pH compared to the oxygen blood. I'll give you a simple quiz. Please look at this picture. Which one is the deoxygenated blood? Is the one on your left that is brighter, or the one on your right that is darker? The answer is the one on your right. The color is darker because when it binds to hemoglobin, the shape of the red blood cell changes. The right atrium. The right atrium receives the oxygen blood from the lungs. Then it empties into the right ventricle. After the right ventricle receives the oxygen blood from the right atrium, it sends back to the lungs, turn into oxygen blood, and send into the left atrium. Now Moni is going to talk about the left atrium and the left ventricle.
Thank you for Dr. Leo for talking about the right part of our heart. Now I'm going to talk about the left part of our heart. First, the 4 valves. As Dr. Leo mentioned, we have pulmonary, tricuspid, bicuspid, and the aortic valves. What do our valves do? Our valves will make sure that the blood will count the currents back to a place. For example, the blood is supposed to go inside the ventricles when it's back to the left atrium. Then it means that valve doesn't close tightly. But what if our valves really doesn't close tightly? Then all of our hearts will be the veins. The functions of our heart. The left atrium is sending the blood to the left ventricle. The left ventricle is pumping the blood to all of our body. So our left ventricle will be thicker than the right ventricle. But what if our left ventricle couldn't pump blood? Then we will call this the VF. VF sometimes is caused by some heart diseases. The whole name for VF is called the ventricular fibrillation. We have another one is called the ventricular tachycardia. VF will cause when your heart is quivering. And how to extend life in this case? We can use the AED and CPR. The whole name for AED is called the automatic external defibrillator. The functions of CPR and AED. CPR, it will make sure our body continues the circulation and every cell got the nutrients and oxygen from the oxygenated blood. AED, it's when our heart is vibrating, we need to defibration it. The green part is our heart rate. The one before is when we got a VF. The red part in the middle is when we got an electric shock from an AED. After the electric shock, we got a normal heart rate again. It means the person got alive. If somebody collapsed in front of you, and you save him in 1 minute, you'll get 90% to let him have a normal heart rate. But if you last for 1 minute, you'll know 3 to 7% to let him have a normal heart rate. The survival rate. If you save him in 3 to 5 minutes with CPR, you'll get 7% to let him be alive. But if you use AED and CPR instead, you'll get 50% to let him be alive. Now I will introduce how to operate an AED. For example, somebody collapsed in front of me. First, I will tap his shoulders to check conscious. If he didn't reply, then call help and please take AED counts, and we can start CPR. After the AED arrives, we need to turn on AED's power. An AED, it will give instructions to tell you to stick a pad on the patient's right up and lift down. On top of the pad, we have different pictures, so we need to make sure that we didn't stick in the wrong place. Remember, when we are sticking the pad, we can't stop our compression. After we stick a pad immediately, AED, it will tell you that they need to analyze the patient's heart rate, so we can stop CPR by now. The time when the AED analyzes the patient's heart rate is about 10 to 15 seconds. After it analyzes the patient's heart rate, it will tell you if the patient needs an electric shock or not. If no, then continue CPR. But if yes, we need to clear around the patient's body and press the electric shock button. Now the patient's body will jump a bit. It means he or she receives an electric shock. And after that, we can continue CPR. After we done CPR for 2 minutes, AED, it will tell you that they need to, did the patient's got a normal heart rate or not. If no, continue the steps that we just taught you until the help arrives. But if yes, then we can stop CPR and flip the patient's body over. Why do we need to flip the patient's body over? It's because, and let him do the recovery position. It's because we have 3 main issues. Firstly, we need to prevent the fallback of the tongue. Secondly, it will be easier to let the vomitus comes out. Thirdly, after the patients got their own ROSC, which means return of spontaneous circulation, they'll breathe by themselves.